we're so glad to be back in the studio with you, Kelly. We've been out a few weeks.
I know, it's been a long time.
I've missed you. I've missed you a lot. You have brought a special guest on with us today, and I'm so excited to meet her because golf is in the blood at our household. So I cannot wait to get into this interview.
Well, I've never played golf, but I truly admire anybody who's at the top of their game in any sports because I know what it takes to get there. Our guest today is Sandy Haney, and first off, one of our trainers, Adrian McDonald, she golfed for the South Carolina Gamecocks and just had a great college career and had took on someone as her coach, mentor, and it was Sandy Haney. And if you're in the golfing world, I'm sure you're very much familiar with who she is. Started looking at your background and really, really impressive. You won your first tournament in 1962, and she competed up until around, I think it was around, 76, and you were injured?
About 76, yes.
Yeah,
and some hand problems.
And won 39 tournaments up until that point.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
Right.
then kind of took some time off and made a comeback in 1980, and her total wins for that was it 40?
I ended up with 42.
42 wins.
Right. And
So,
with 4 majors in there.
and in 1977, you were inducted to the LPGA Hall of Fame.
Correct, I was.
Wow, very impressive.
That's very
So,
neat.
yeah, I mean, we have somebody here that is way overqualified for both of us.
I know. I can't believe she's sitting here at this table with us. We're excited to have her today.
One thing I noticed when I was reading some things about you, I noticed on your comeback in 1980, around 78 maybe to 80, you started to become a mental coach.
I did. I had the good fortune. I met Martina Navratilova at a Women's Superstars, and she had defected like 6 months prior. So the whole world was new to her. And what a talent. And we just started visiting, and she was just a lost puppy. She really was. And we just started talking, and I said, well, what are your goals? And she said, well, be number one. I go, well, okay, you can achieve that, but there's a process of staying there. So we just kind of started talking. I started sharing just my experience of competing, and it seemed to make sense to her. So I kind of helped her for a couple of years, and what it did for me personally was that when I did come back, I had learned a lot about what I knew that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so it really helped me competing when I came back.
It's amazing. We were talking earlier, and I said, how much of golf do you think is mental?
100%.
100%, yeah.
Before every action, there's thought. So it has to be in there. And I know people say, well, it's 90%. No. If you're going to open a door, you're going to think about reaching the doorknob and how you're going to open it. So same thing in golf.
Yeah, which I think we continue to talk a little bit more. It's the same thing in life. I mean, everything we do, there's a thought before we do it. And the way you're thinking about it prior to doing it has a big impact on our success or our failure.
I know talking to the golf team today, that was kind of one of the things about just awareness of they're going through so much right now, not only a team member, but school. Several of them are from other countries. And so they're really dealing with a lot. And so we just kind of talked about, trying to settle the waters a little bit and just kind of be a little bit more present and just kind of enjoy the space that you're in right now, which is hard. I understand for young people. It's hard for anybody. But just have some awareness and just kind of take things in stride if you can.
When you had your hand surgery, did that have any impact on you, like having to retire at an early age, pretty much? And then, I mean, did it cause you to start thinking before you got into helping other people, like trying to deal with emotions yourself?
The first thing it did was it was just a blessing. I was burned out. I had played golf since I was 11, and all the tournaments, all the wonderful opportunities that I had had still had taken a toll on me physically, mentally, emotionally, and it just was a blessing to be able to take some time off, and it was a good excuse.
Oh, good, good. I guess some things happen at the right time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know that and I've talked to Cindy about this before, that kind of the way I got into kind of helping people was that I was pretty much burnt out about 15 years ago. And I don't know, in that burning out was the best thing that ever happened, because it allowed me to do some self-seeking and searching and trying to figure out why I was so angry or disappointed and frustrated, all the emotions, I guess. And I know sometimes we have to go through things like that. That's why I was asking about that. So what do you do now?
Well, right now I do some consulting for the Texas Golf Association, which I really, really enjoy. Just really kind of doing what I can to kind of interact with the people, the young people that are there. And I do some teaching, not a lot, but, just enough.
Yeah. One thing I was going to ask is, I can't imagine, but how has golf changed from when you began to now seeing all of these younger kids coming in? I mean, I know you started at an early age, it sounds like, but like, what are some differences you see in this world, the golf world?
Well, of course, obviously, there's just a lot more great players. There's a lot of really good players. Certainly, you can always say, well, the equipment's better, but everybody's using the same equipment now, so it's apples and oranges. As I said, all the golf swings are so good today. They really are. And the competition's really tough. But, we thought it was tough for us at that time, and I was fortunate to come along at a time where I played with some really great players. So I came along at the right time for me. But, as I said, we just have certainly more really good players today, a lot more international today than we had. When I played, we did have a few from Japan. We had one from South America and one from Sweden, I think. So we had a little bit of international, but not certainly like it is today. And the travel that the players today have to do, I'm not sure I'd want to do that today.
Yeah. Tiger Wood, I think, kind of started a trend as far as the people being more fit, because you definitely can tell when you're looking at, if it's golfers or even tennis players, you can tell there's a level of fitness there now than back in the old days, or,
Right.
they didn't have. Did you do any exercising or weightlifting?
I had a little bit of a funny back, so I started lifting weights long before anybody thought about lifting weights, because I wanted to get my upper body stronger to kind of take the pressure off my back. And everybody's going, what are you doing? Because that wasn't a norm at that time. But it helped me. And certainly what they know about training today, I mean, it's just, and they work out hard. They every doesn't matter male or female, they work out really hard. Again, I'm not sure I want to work out that hard, but they do, and to do what they do today, they have to.
Yeah, because I can't imagine you're spending a lot of time on a golf course. I mean, golf takes a while.
8 hours.
8 hours.
Well, that's about what, with warm up, with 5 hour to 6 hour round, depending on where you're playing. Some players then go and practice or work out. So, again, they're looking at 8 to 10 hours a day minimum. And then you put travel on top of that.
Yeah.
It's and typically you would play at least a couple of weeks. When I played, we would play more than that. We'd play 3-4 weeks at least in a row.
Wow.
And that's 6 days.
That's a lot of golf.
It is a lot of golf, but when you're doing what you love,
That's true.
It's not tough.
That's true. What about, you think, like, the nutrition has changed a lot too, and like they hydrate? I mean, because I know probably, we just drank water, but but I think probably overall all the athletes follow more strict regiments.
I'm sure that I know that they do, yes. And that was certainly not in our vocabulary either. You know, a good Dr. Pepper, I was all set.
So what kind of advice do you give? I mean, you said that you met with the girls today at UT. Adrian is a golf coach over there for the girls. And was there any other advice that you gave as far as like telling them how to settle or calm their mind? Are there certain techniques that you use? Because I'm sure everybody would love to hear this. I think everybody, not just golfers, everybody is suffering from a little bit of called the monkey mind, mind race.
I did speak to them about meditation, and a couple of them came to me afterwards and said, explain that a little bit more. So we didn't have a lot of time for that, but I did try to explain the best I could, because I learned about meditation in trips that I made to Japan back in the 70s. And I just saw kind of a presence in the Japanese players that I didn't see and I didn't feel personally. And so they were gracious enough to introduce me into what it's all about, how to do it, the benefits of it. And so I kind of mentioned it to the young ladies today. And I said, if you can just 5 minutes, just 5 minutes of quiet in your mind with everything you have going on in your life. And so I would encourage anybody to do that.
Yeah.
And, people go, well, I'm too busy. Well, are you too busy for 5 minutes? Really?
Yeah, I mean, because we waste a lot of time with that monkey mind, and
Right.
5 minutes would spare us a lot of time.
So are you suggesting that they meditate in the morning first thing or before a game, or what are you?
Whenever it's convenient for them.
Okay.
It's best to kind of set a time, but with a golfer schedule, you don't have that benefit. Actually, they could use a little bit of walking meditation in between shots. If it's not going well, again, kind of take that opportunity, become aware of your footsteps, and just kind of center yourself a little bit. And just in that, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, that helps.
So I've heard my husband talk, because, obviously he plays competitive golf, but he could be playing along and playing very well and then hit a bad shot, and it just kind of sends it all downhill from there. Takes him several shots to recover at that point. What kind of suggestion would you make for someone like that?
The shot's over.
That's a good way to put it.
That's right.
It's gone.
Uh-huh.
There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And trying to go back and try to figure out what you did wrong. You don't have time for that because you need to go to the next shot. And the more you dwell on what just happened, the less that you're focused on what's going to happen. So take that in between time again and come back and focus on you. Center yourself a sec. Let the waters calm down. As I said, there's nothing you can do about the last shot. So let's prepare ourselves correctly for the next shot. Having a pre-shot routine really helps because that, again, helps you focus on one thing at a time. That's paramount, really. So that would kind of be my suggestion.
I love it. I love it.
I know for quarterbacks, they say you have to have short-term memory loss.
That's true.
You throw that plays over, we're just moving on to the next. And you think about it, too, it's acceptance. It's about accepting reality. And, it's not, we may not, it doesn't mean that we accept or like the fact that we just had a bad putt, but it's accepting the fact that we did, and now what can I do better for this next one?
So much self-improvement training that we see today. They talk about doing affirmations ahead of time, affirmations that you're this, you're that, Do you train your people when you talk about doing affirmations ahead of time?
Not really.
Not really?
No. It's. I just want them to be have an awareness more than anything of who they are, what they're about. Another thing I mentioned to the young ladies today was that golfers in particular, but as human beings, we do this. Like, well, last week I played really well. Well, guess what? This is this week.
Yeah.
That was last week. And it's the same in making decisions. Well, did I make the right decision? Well, you can beat yourself up forever on that, but I find some of my young players that, well, Monday I was playing really well. Well, guess what? This is Wednesday, So there's so much mentally and physically that happens in a really short span of time. And I try to tell them there's no two shots going to be the same because you change in that few minutes from shot to shot. So be present.
There's a great book. I don't know if you've read it or not, but it's by a guy named Eckhart Tolle. And it's called The Power of Now. And he's talking about like a lot of these things that we're talking about, like the past is nothing more than an imperfect memory, and the future is nothing more than an inaccurate prediction. Meaning the only thing that's ever real is what's happening in this moment.
Right.
And so there's a lot of advice, he gives as far as he says what a liberation it was to recognize that the voice that I hear is not me. And so you may ask, well, who are you? I am the one that's observing the voice. So kind of trying to distance yourself and recognize and understand what I keep telling myself, the same pattern. And I'm sure in sports or anything else, we get this repetition of thought that keeps going, and then we try to fight it, and then the more you fight it, the worse it gets, And so we get into that circle too. But that would be an excellent book. Another book that was great that I read was called Brain Gym, and a lot of times you'll hear parents say, get your head back, get your head in the game. A lot of times we need to get our head out of the game, because you've practiced so much that muscle memory. Should be good enough. But when we start overthinking things is when we need to get our head out of it.
Okay, so I've got to ask you. So you played a lot competitively. Did you have like a ritual every day that you did in the morning? A certain way you did things?
Pretty much. It would always kind of depend on my tea time. If you have a really early tea time, it's, 4 hours before tea time, whatever that is, and because you have to, your body has to adjust to that time, and then you could have a 2:00 tea time. So in that way, you're kind of adjusting on the fly a little bit, but you know what your routine is, and your routine, mine was 4 hours before tea time. If it was a late tea time, then you've got some time to kill. I was not particularly a breakfast eater. If it was a later tea time, I was okay because I would eat lunch. But you always, I'd start with short game and go putt a little bit and just kind of start feeling my surroundings, and putting, chipping a little bit, hit balls. I wasn't one that stayed on the range very long. Found that boring. So that was just kind of my routine. Just start with short game, create my feel for the day, and find out what do I feel like today? Because you have days where you slept really well and you're eager and you're strong, and then the next day you didn't sleep well or you ate something that didn't agree with you. I mean, there's a myriad of things that you have to deal with in a pretty short amount of time. So the routine can change, but the awareness of who you are today and how I feel. And if I don't feel good, then I'm just going to give myself kind of a break. And today is going to be what it is. I don't feel good. And, oh, well. There's just so many things. And, and I always say, too, I mean, even though we're a little bit separated because we're away from home and everything, but that doesn't keep us from getting a bad phone call from home. And, so there's just a lot of things that go into our lives.
So I was on a flight coming back from somewhere, and I was sitting next to a golf coach, and he taught women, professional golfers, and he told me about a lady that had a golf marker, and it was her lucky marker, and she could not play without it. Mm-hmm. She left it in her pocket and had dropped her clothes off at the dry cleaners before they started the tournament. They had to go to the dry cleaners and get it. Because that's what I kind of was asking, if you had like some lucky bracelet or tennis or shoe or socks or something like that. Did you just felt better? My husband has got these cutter and buck pants. He's got to wear those. He's got to wear these particular pants. So he owns a lot of them. It's for him to play in. You know what I mean? It's just kind of that ritual thing for him.
I was kind of drawn to like darker colors.
Okay.
Playing golf. Would never. I don't own anything red.
Really?
Red makes me angry.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't own anything red.
Yeah.
You know, and I know a lot of people are drawn to red, which is fine, but that doesn't suit me. So darker colors, calm colors, anything that's calm. That's what I want to be around.
Okay.
I didn't necessarily have a lucky marker, but I did always use dimes.
Really? Okay. Okay. Very neat.
Yeah.
Very neat.
Yeah, a little superstition in all
absolutely.
sports.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, gosh, thank you so much for coming in and stopping on our program here, and I'm so glad I got to meet you, and I'm glad Adrian brought you over, and hopefully, if you're ever in town again, we'll have you back in.
That sounds good. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Fun.
Well, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us today for another Elevate series with Kelly Hitchcock and myself.